Welcome to Menopause Monday. Thank you for joining me today. I am talking about stress and the fact that stress is contagious. So is panic, in actual fact. And it is scientifically proven that this thing happens. As we go through the menopause, our estrogen levels decline, which necessarily increases the amount of cortisol that we release, but also has an effect on the oxytocin receptors in our body. Now, oxytocin, if you've heard of it, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, pregnant women, hugging babies. It's released when we have our babies to help with that mother-baby bond. And as our estrogen falls, so does it have a negative impact on the receptors that, take on the oxytocin in our bodies. We can improve the amount of oxytocin that we release, and I will talk to you about a few tips later on. However, firstly, I just want to sort of go over, I want to share a story with you in actual fact, because this has happened to me on a couple of very obvious occasions, plus one literally a few minutes ago. As you can tell, I'm breathing higher. My voice is probably not as relaxed as it normally is. I'll tell you that story first. We have a dog that gets into our garden here in Cornwall, and it gets here a lot. Whenever it goes back to its owners, it cowers. Well, I love animals, and I know you probably love your animals too. And I really let it rip at this owner today. And the dog was saturated. It was freezing cold. It still had the lead attached. It's a spaniel. They don't walk it enough. Anyway, the owner got the full wrath from me this morning, and I'm still feeling the effects of it. I'm going to do some deep breathing in a minute, and I could feel that stress flooding through my body. I don't know about you, when I get very angry with somebody or stressed, it nearly makes me cry, or I will cry. So it was a real job. My voice was wobbly. I was trying not to cry, not because I was sad. Well, I was sad for the pet, but because I could feel this anger and frustration boiling up in me that this stupid owner has got this pet that they don't look after. We also hear it barking, and it's just not fair. So that as an aside. So you might actually be watching this feeling, oh yeah, I can feel her stress. Be aware of how this is making you feel, because this is how we pick up on stress signals. This is why it's a good thing to not always watch the news or not watch things that are focusing on the drama of the doom and gloom, because it's designed to keep us attached to it. It's designed to make us watch for longer. And yes, it's lovely to watch people laugh, and laugh is contagious as well. So there are laughing clubs out there. Watch funny films. Have a good laugh, have a good guffaw with your best friends, because there are very few things that are as good for you mentally and physically as a good old laugh. So maybe I'm going to put a comedy on to this. But there another occasion when I was at university, I was stuck in the lift with my French professor. Now, I have a history of lifts, and I've been stuck in loads of them, particularly when I was younger. So I got quite good at being stuck in a lift. Apart from watching The Towering Inferno, I don't know if you've ever seen that film, when the lift literally plummets. And as a child, I watched that film like every Christmas. And so my initial thought of lifts was, oh my gosh, if it goes wrong, it's just going to drop and we're all going to be squished. Thankfully, by that stage, I had realized that's highly unlikely to happen. And I was stuck in this very small lift. I don't know, it took a maximum of about 6 people, very old, lift in Bristol, whereas I was at university. And I was quite happy about it. The doors had shut, the lift had gone down a floor and then got stuck. So I pressed the alarm button. But my French professor, who was probably a good 25 years older than I was, maybe even a bit more, I could hear her breathing going. She's with a sort of little French voice and getting very irate, and nothing negative about the French voice, by the way, but just trying to sort of put this picture together. And she's I could sense that her panic was coming onto me, and I was saying, madame, calm down, it's fine, we're going to be all right. We'll press the bell, they'll come and get us. I was looking around for an escape hatch, thinking, well, there must be one somewhere. Can't actually remember if I saw one or not. And it took all of my presence to try and create an invisible barrier between me and her so I would not catch her panic. Thankfully, we weren't in there for too long, because I think she would have had a full-on panic attack. But stress can also be mediated by other people. So although we can catch stress and panic from people, we can also help to reduce stress in people. And it's really interesting. It's been found that if you're stressed as a woman and you are surrounded by a group of women who are not stressed, as a group of women, we can mediate how you're feeling. It doesn't happen in men, incidentally, but it does in women. I think on the whole, I'm sure there are some men where it would happen, but on women, I think we're just more emotionally tuned in to each other's vibes. Sometimes you can walk into a room and you think, oh God, there's an atmosphere in here, but you can't put your finger on it. Well, the body gives off alarm pheromones. So it's designed to keep us safe. Going back, millions of years ago when we had to be aware, maybe we couldn't talk to each other, certainly couldn't text each other. It's like, oh, there's a saber-toothed tiger around the corner. You better be careful, Jackie. It might come and get you. So we have to be able to communicate with each other without having to use words and signals, physical signals. There was a story I read a little while ago, very recently, a little while ago, about this as a tribe, I think in Africa. They're a hunter-gatherer tribe, and it might even have been with Michael Palin. I can't quite remember, but the tribe, the person, I'm sure it was Michael Palin, was saying to them, how do you let the village know that you've had a successful catch or a successful hunt? And the tribe leader said, they already know. It's out there. They already know that, or they will already be celebrating in the village that we've had a successful hunt, even though nobody, the village was miles and miles and miles away, even though nobody had actually said anything, no mobile phones, nothing. But the village already knew that they'd had a successful hunt. And we're all connected. I don't know what your thoughts are about energy. I mean, I'm a big believer in energy being out there and almost telepathy. And I think when you allow yourself to think that that's a possibility, you allow that into your life and you can become more telepathic. You can become more aware of body signals. Just going back to sort of the menopausal woman, I always like to think that we're part of so much of a bigger picture. Can't get my words out. I think it's because I'm a bit stressed about the dog still. And we are all interrelated. So these alarm pheromones are designed to help keep us safe. But obviously nowadays, there are no saber-toothed tigers, and we're bombarded with signals, messaging, electromagnetic fields from our phones, from the sockets, from your electric blanket, from the television, screens. We're bombarded all the time with these various things that can confuse the messages that are coming in. Incidentally, with children, if your child has been diagnosed with ADD, it could be that they are just picking up on the stressful environment around them. Try it. Reduce the screen time or cut it out as much as you can. Get them outside in nature doing active things. In fact, I talked to an old customer of mine the other day whose son is going through all sorts of stuff. He's pubescent, a lot of difficulties at the minute, and all he does is play games all day. So what does he do? How does he spend his day? Just on the games. He loves it. Just like, well, get him off the games, get him outside. Does he like martial arts? Yeah, he likes martial arts. Get him join up with a martial arts club. It'll be a great discipline. It'll be a great outlet for his physical needs. Get him into nature. Get him out chopping wood or gathering wood so the dad can chop it or whatever it is. And this boy was just, you can imagine, he's just jacked up all day on stress hormones and adrenaline, killing whoever he's killing on the screen, looking at a screen with no physical outlet at all. I mean, I talk about exercise as one of the best value, most effective ways of keeping your stress levels low. It is, because we physically get rid of that excess stress when we work out, and we also flood our bodies with endorphins. So just understanding that the cortex, the prefrontal cortex, the sort of conscious part of our brain, that's not the bit that picks up on these alarm signals or the stress signals. It's the hippocampus, which is the sort of more subconscious area, which is designed to pick on up on these signals that we get bombarded with. The other story I was going to share with you is I was with somebody just the other night who is going through a range of difficulties and addictions at the moment. And there was just the two of us, and she was getting very antsy about just little insignificant things. The cushions on the sofa were not tidy. One of her dogs had done a piddle on the floor. And she was biting about everybody else, talking negatively about other people, and I just say, yeah, well, just don't let it bother you. Just, it doesn't matter. The dog wee, you can dry it up. The other things, just let it wash across you. And she said, how do you do that? I said, do what? She said, how do you just like not get involved with it? How do you just manage to detach from it? And I said, because I never got attached in the first place. There are certain things in life. If the dog's weed, it's weed. If you're stuck in a traffic jam, you're stuck in a traffic jam. Yes, you might be late to your meeting, but stressing about it cannot change that. All it's going to do is jack up your stress hormones. So when you actually get to your meeting, you're probably going to be less effective. There are certain things that you just have to let go. The dog, I could have let that slip, but there's an ethical reason for me literally coming down rather hard on the owner, because I am actually concerned about the dog's welfare. To see a dog cower at both sexes of both owners is not a good indication. And I absolutely love animals, and there are times when I don't like confrontation. I'm not a confrontational person at all, but there are times when things need to be said and boundaries need to be kept and animals need to be protected. And Kate came out in her full force this morning. So the things that can help boost your oxytocin, because if you can focus on boosting your feel-good hormones, obviously exercise, but oxytocin, things like hugging releases oxytocin, volunteering releases oxytocin, donating, just bonding with people who are of a similar tribe to yourself. Storytelling's good. Sharing a book with your child or another person, or listening to somebody tell a story. There's an arm of psychotherapy called Human Givens, and even if you're not a therapist, I highly recommend you read the book. It's just called, type in Human Givens, it will pop up. It is the most beautiful approach to dealing with issues, struggles in our life. And pets, of course, because aren't animals just the greatest balancer and stress reliever? So be aware of the things that you can do to help promote your oxytocin, to help reduce stress yourself. Be aware of how stress translates in your body. Be aware of how you are allowing stressful people around you to have a negative impact on you. You don't have to take up their stress. Try and, if somebody's around you who's stressy and anxious, focus on your breathing, bring your breathing down. By you bringing your breathing down, so making it slower and deeper, you will also have a positive impact on that person who is stressful, because they're picking up on those subconscious cues that you're giving off. As you lower your stressful state, that is having a positive impact on that stressful person. So it works both ways. And if you're aware of that, when you're surrounded by somebody who is then being stressy or being anxious or being cross or negative or whatever it might be, you can recognize that, step back. Breathing is brilliant, by the way. Take a deep breath and just align yourself with who you are. Just almost visualize yourself being grounded and anchored into the center of the earth, if that helps. That always helps me. I should have thought about that this morning when I was talking to the owner. I didn't, because I was in the fight and flight response. My adrenaline was off. I'd seen the dog and it just like triggered me, and I stomped off and took the dog back to where it belongs. And I could have been more mindful of that situation. Looking back on it now, it's easy to reflect afterwards, isn't it? But even that reflection afterwards will prepare you better for the next time that sort of thing happens. So you can have a positive impact on somebody who's stressy, and you can also help protect yourself from that stressy individual by being aware of it, bringing your breathing down, start to focus on your own welfare, or just remove yourself from that person. If you are surrounded by, or in close contact with somebody who is constantly stressy, constantly anxious, constantly maybe being negative towards you, consider changing that relationship. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for your company. If there's anything you'd like me to share in a future episode, just message me or leave it in the comments below. I hope this was helpful to you. I'd be really interested. Were you aware that stress is something that you can indeed catch? And now you've watched this, do you feel more able to deal with not catching it and also having a positive impact on somebody who is being stressy, either towards you or in your close environment. Thanks for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.